When a little girl calls 911, worried that her mom has been sleeping all day, officers anticipate a routine wellness check. However, what they uncover is far from ordinary. This remarkable story reveals a hidden danger that not only impacted one family, but transformed an entire community. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and if you enjoy stories like these, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating narratives. Let's dive into this story. In a small apartment on the south side of Chicago, Lily Carter, a lively 4-year-old with a love for adventure, woke up one morning to an unusual silence. Normally, her mother, Andrea Carter, would greet her with a cheerful "good morning" and the comforting smell of breakfast. But today there was nothing. The silence felt unsettling, like the calm before a storm. Lily, rubbing her sleepy eyes, turned to look at her mother. Andrea was still in bed, not moving. This was strange. It was already 8 a.m., hours past their usual morning routine. Lily nudged her mom gently. "Mommy?" she whispered. When there was no response, she tried again, this time louder. Still no reaction. Panic began to creep into her young heart. She checked the clock, 8 a.m. already. Her stomach growled in hunger, but her concern for Andrea overshadowed her discomfort. Why wasn't Mommy awake? Andrea had always been the kind of person who woke up early, bustling around the house, making breakfast, and getting Lily ready for the day. But today the house was eerily still. Lily's mind raced back to all the emergency drills her mother had insisted on over the years. Andrea had always been adamant about teaching her daughter what to do in case of an emergency. "If something's wrong, Lily, you call 911, Andrea would say, her tone firm but loving. At the time, Lily had thought it was just something her mom worried too much about. But now those lessons suddenly felt incredibly important. Summoning all her courage, Lily reached for the phone mounted on the wall. Her small fingers trembled as she grasped the cold plastic. It felt heavy in her hand, and she hesitated. Was this really the right thing to do? The silence around her seemed deafening, and it was the only thing that convinced her to make the call. "I have to help Mommy," she whispered to herself. With shaky hands, she dialed 911. Her pinky accidentally pressed 2 buttons at once before she corrected herself. Her heart pounded in her chest as the phone connected. She pressed the receiver tightly to her ear, the cold plastic against her cheek. The voice on the other end was calm, like a teacher guiding her through a lesson. 911. What's your emergency?" Lily swallowed hard, her voice trembling. Mr. 911, my mommy's been asleep all day, and she won't wake up. I tried really hard," she stammered, her words rushing out in a panic. The operator's voice softened immediately. "Oh, sweetheart, you did the right thing by calling. Can you tell me your address so we can help your mommy?" Lily nodded even though the operator couldn't see her. "It's 402 Maple Street, apartment 5B, she said, her words barely above a whisper. "You have to come quick, okay?" "I'll make sure of it," the operator promised. "Can you stay on the phone with me until they arrive?" Lily nodded again, clutching the phone tightly as she sat by the window, her small fingers gripping the edge of the sill. The world outside looked normal. People walking dogs, cars driving by, a man carrying groceries. How could everything look so calm when her world felt turned upside down? "Are you still there, Lily?" The operator's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. "Yes," Lily replied, rubbing her nose with her sleeve. "But can you come faster? Mommy always makes me waffles, and she didn't today. She never misses waffle day." "I know that must feel really scary, but you're being so brave, Lily," the operator said, her voice gentle and warm like hot cocoa on a cold day. "Tell me, was Mommy feeling sick yesterday?" Lily sniffled. "She said she was tired. I told her to take a nap, but she's been sleeping too long. I don't think naps are supposed to be this long," she said, her voice cracking with worry. "You're doing such a good job, sweetheart," the operator reassured her. "Help is almost there. Just keep talking to me, okay?" When officers Noah Diaz and Emma Brooks arrived, they were met by Mr. Robert Hayes, the building manager. He had been fixing a door on another floor when he heard the commotion and came to assist. Together they rushed to Lily's apartment, their sense of urgency palpable. The sound of keys clinking in Mr. Hayes' hand felt unbearably slow to Lily as she peered out the window, waiting for them to arrive. "Miss Carter, it's the police," Officer Diaz called, knocking on the door. Inside, Lily heard the voices but couldn't open the door fast enough. She climbed onto a stool to reach the lock, her small hands fumbling with the mechanism. The stool wobbled beneath her, but with a final push, the door creaked open. Officer Diaz crouched down to her level, offering a warm smile. "You're doing great, kid," he said, his voice reassuring. Lily stepped aside as the responders moved in, her small hands trembling as she clung to the doorframe for support. Andrea lay motionless on the bed, her breathing shallow. The room felt heavy with unspoken dread. Paramedic Brooks moved swiftly, her trained eyes scanning Andrea's condition with precision. Her fingers checked Andrea's pulse with the careful urgency that came with years of practice. "Her vitals are weak," Brooks murmured under her breath. Turning to Officer Diaz, her tone shifted to one of urgency. "She needs to get to the hospital now." As they prepared Andrea for transport, Officer Diaz's attention was drawn to the strange atmosphere in the room. The air carried a musty, acrid odor, one that suggested microbial growth. It was faint but pervasive, as though it had seeped into the walls and the very air. He opened the windows to let fresh air in, but kept scanning the room. Something about the discoloration on the corners of the walls, the strange heaviness of the air, raised a red flag. "This isn't just exhaustion," he murmured. "This might be mold." Brooks exchanged a look with her partner, impressed by his sharp observation. "That's a good call," she said, nodding. "Most people wouldn't make the connection, but mold can be a silent killer. It's likely been affecting her for a long time." As they wheeled Andrea out, Lily clung to her mother's hand, still frightened but determined. Officer Diaz ruffled her hair, his voice kind as he said, "You did the right thing, kid. You're very brave." As Andrea was rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Officer Diaz and Mr. Hayes remained at the apartment to investigate. Following the strange, musty odor, they traced it to the air vents. What they discovered was deeply alarming. Hidden behind the walls and ductwork was a severe infestation of black mold. For months, toxic spores had silently invaded the apartment, making Andrea dangerously ill and subtly affecting other residents in the building. Complaints of persistent headaches, unexplained fatigue, and mild respiratory issues had been dismissed as seasonal colds or everyday stress. But now the true cause was undeniable. Diaz carefully examined the vents, snapping photos for evidence. "This isn't just one apartment," he muttered, his jaw tightening. "This mold has likely been releasing toxins into the entire air system, putting every resident at risk. It's a silent threat. Most people wouldn't even realize they were being poisoned until it became severe." Straightening up, Diaz turned to Mr. Hayes, his expression grim. "We need to evacuate the building immediately and warn the residents." Mr. Hayes' face paled as the gravity of the situation sank in. "I'll notify the tenants right away," he said, already reaching for his phone. "And I need to call an environmental cleanup team. This isn't just a maintenance issue, it's a public health emergency." As word spread, panic rippled through the building. Residents who had long suffered from unexplained symptoms, chronic coughing, sinus issues, lingering fatigue, began to realize they had all been unknowingly exposed to the same toxic mold. The community, once bustling with life, fell eerily silent as professionals arrived to begin the extensive cleanup process. Medical experts were called in to educate tenants about the dangers of mold exposure, explaining how mold toxins can infiltrate the respiratory system, weaken the immune system, and even cause long-term neurological effects if left untreated. Meanwhile, Lily and Andrea stayed with Andrea's sister Natalie in Evanston while Andrea recovered. As she slowly regained her strength, she couldn't stop thanking Lily for her bravery. "You saved me, baby," she whispered through tear-filled eyes. The events of that fateful day left a deep and lasting impact on Lily. As she grew older, her desire to help others only strengthened. Inspired by the paramedics who had saved her mother, she set her sights on a career in emergency services. The journey was anything but easy. The demanding coursework and grueling training pushed her to her limits, but Lily never wavered. She held on to the memory of the fear she had felt as a child, the uncertainty, the helplessness, and the overwhelming relief when help finally arrived. She wanted to be that source of hope for someone else. Beyond her training, Lily dedicated her time to volunteering at local shelters and health clinics, sharing her story and encouraging others to take emergency preparedness seriously. Years later, she stood tall in her paramedic uniform, ready to begin her first day on the job. As she looked ahead, she carried with her the memory of that morning in their Chicago apartment, the moment that had shaped her future. Now she was the one answering the call for help, ready to make a difference just as she had all those years ago. One evening, Lily visited her old apartment building, now fully renovated and free of mold. It was bustling with life again. As she walked through the halls, she stopped outside their old unit, now occupied by a new family. She heard the laughter of children behind the door and felt a deep sense of closure. Her courage had sparked a series of events that saved not only her mother, but also the entire community. Lily smiled, knowing that even the smallest heroes could make the biggest difference. As she walked away, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her actions had left a lasting impact, and the laughter of the children behind her was a reminder that life continued, thriving in the very building that had once been a source of danger. As a parent, how would you prepare your child to handle an emergency like Lily did? What steps would you take to ensure they know what to do in unexpected situations? Share your thoughts and tips in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.